this is absolutely toast. Hey everybody, I hope you had a fun trading day. It was a wild one to say the least. So I want to start with Bitcoin, and we're going to cover a lot of ground today in a very short period of time. So this is really what you're running into, where we can just see this utter collapse of Bitcoin. So as this starts to come in and we start to see the crash, you're going to see this actually accelerate. And one of the things we did was we started to see this accelerate today, and we know for a fact that they actually at Binance had to halt withdrawals of Bitcoin. In other words, they had to halt you being able to access your capital, which is not at all what you want to see. Now, this is the starting point of how this starts to unravel. And when I say here, it does not mean that Bitcoin is not going to be around. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the underlying infrastructure could have problems. And it could be like everybody trying to run for one door. And when you have a run on the bank, just like you could have a run on Tether, those kinds of issues can create massive panic. That panic's what brought Lehman down. That panic's what brought Bear Stearns down. If you're not familiar with those, you might want to look them up. So you can see something happen like that brings something like a quote tether down, and that could affect the underlying currencies that they own, i.e. Bitcoin. I agree with Cass's statement today where he said the statement that Tether came out with makes zero sense. You can't acknowledge through your disclosures the excess of assets to liabilities is minimal, and 6% of all assets are equity or in digital tokens, but also reserves are unaffected by the collapse of Celsius and the market downturn. What you're saying defies logic. There's been no auditors that have really gotten in there. I'm not here to debate the whole thing. I'm here to tell you that if you're an institution and you own this right now, okay, you are concerned. Let me explain to you why else your antenna is probably raised. You now have Celsius that is pulling a Luna. Okay, so you have another one of these that's going to collapse. That's not going to go very well either. Nobody needs to take the risk. They're too busy losing money in bonds. They're too busy losing money in equities. No big firm is going to take the risk of a new asset class whose underpinnings are starting to look very similar to what happened in 08, 09. This is what happened. You couldn't take your money out of the bank, right? You started getting squeezed. There were people that were tied up in Lehman for years with their assets that couldn't get their assets out when it went bankrupt. Okay, years. Read about it. It's a real thing. So when you see places like Binance saying, hey, you can't get your money out right now, but don't worry, it's just a glitch. That's how this starts. And so you need to be very cautious of that. I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to zero. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you need to be aware of the moving parts, because you could hit a point here where it's just get me out at any price. And you're certainly not anywhere near there. You're near this 20,000 level and you're hoping it's going to hold 20. And then my next level's 12, then 5 if it doesn't hold those levels. But you have other issues that are going out there too. There is an SEC investigation now into MicroStrategies. MicroStrategies is a huge holder of Bitcoin, and they're talking about Bitcoin and did they go out and buy a speculative asset with client funds. If the SEC is going after a company and saying that you use client funds or you use customer funds to buy a speculative asset, how many Fortune 500 companies are going to run out there right now and buy Bitcoin? Probably none, right? Because they don't want the liability. So that's why I'm covering this and why I'm spending so much time with it. It's really important. Now, as far as ideas, we're short MicroStrategies. In theory, we're short Bitcoin through this. There is no way that this is going to hold. I think we get right to that 123. We shorted more today, and I would continue to look at shorting it. The next one that you have to look at is Mara. Okay, so if you look at where these names were, okay, all these insiders, I have this up here, but all these insiders, they are selling their Bitcoin. Okay, so the miners are selling their Bitcoin. So if they don't want to own it, my point being, they must know something that we don't. Now, just to put this in perspective, before Bitcoin ran up, this was a 90 cent stock. And we've seen this happen, and we've seen these go lower. There's no reason that this isn't going back down. Okay, they're one of the third largest shareholders of Bitcoin, next to Tesla and MicroStrategies. And you can see it all throughout the whole space. Square, same thing. You're breaking down today. Okay, all these stocks should be on your list if you're looking for short positions. Now, could they trade up? Yes. Could you get those shorts off when they trade up? Yes, you absolutely could. But you have to look at what's going on out there. And right now, this is not going well. If you take a look at what's going on with the SPY, you can see there was a reverse head and shoulders right here, gap down, gap down. The problem with these gap downs is they're not getting smaller, they're getting greater. So this is actually setting up again to break. So be careful of that. Now, if you watch Saturday's video, and if you didn't watch Saturday's video, I will link it at the end of this. But take a look at the SPY and compare it to this JNK. and I'm not going to do a comparison right now, but I want you to understand this. You've been following JNK the whole way down, percent for percent. You're down 4.46%, okay, from this break line. Okay? The SPY, the point that I was getting at today when I was talking about this in the trading room, was this. So for those that are in there and for those that are not, this is what I was referring to. So just for the equity market to catch up with the bond market, this is where the SPY would have to go, just to catch up with what happened in the bond market today. Now you have the 2-year rising faster than any time in history since Lehman today. Okay, so that means that people are just basically saying, get me out, get me out. That's why a lot of people today, you'll notice they had problems. They weren't able to short certain names when they went to their broker. You'll notice your data feeds were off. Okay, so the system's being tested, and a lot of these systems will get tested, just like they did, 2 years ago. So keep that in mind. But in regards to names like this, I don't see any way this is trading up. I mean, this is something we bought back here at 22.18, gap up, another gap up. I don't see anything that's even remotely close to stopping this from continuing to rally. This is the Bear ETX fund. This is the highest close that we have had since 2018. Okay, if you go take a look at this close, October 2018, and what that did to the SPY, it's very easy to say. If we go on to, let's do a weekly. It'll be easier on a weekly. Okay, so if you go back, here's September. Okay, that was the last time we were at this level. So from the time that we hit that peak, okay, this was the correction that you saw, roughly 20%. Now, we've obviously already corrected some, but there's nothing about this that is remotely appealing. Nothing. So the Fed has a problem. PPI is tomorrow at 8:30. That's going to be an issue. If you take a look at the Qs, okay, they've completely broken down. There's nothing redeeming. Could you gap up tomorrow? Just as easily as you could gap down. And all I would do is look for times to short when we rally. All right. So the next group that's going to fall, I'll give you two. Okay. XLK. This is absolutely toast. All right. I mean, this is the break that we've been waiting for to finally see it actually break. So here, these two names, if you're looking for names that to be on the short side, Apple's probably going in the 120s, could be there by the end of the week. Microsoft. Okay. Now, you never know how we're going to react Wednesday when the Fed does what it does with rates. For me, what I want to see them do is I want to see them actually come in and hammer them. I want to come at 75 basis points, 100 basis points. That's what I want to see. Rip the Band-Aid off. Because right now, all we're seeing is that they're completely incompetent. There's really no other way to say it. Look at IWM. All right, so I know this format's a little different than I normally do it, but there's way too much to cover. So in the trading room, I mentioned this, TZA. Hold on. And you can see that, I mean, this is it just absolutely exploded today. I didn't personally put this one on. I had a lot of shorts on already, but just continue to focus on the space and try to, if you want to trade on the short side and you're uncomfortable, trade these ETFs. They're easy to trade, but understand Wednesday is going to be volatile. Friday is quad witching. So just keep that in mind. Today's video again was just, I want to give you an amalgam of what's going on over there. This didn't break down. This is consumer discretionary. So start looking at the names that didn't break down. Okay, this is only down 1.73% today, right? So maybe this is washed out. Okay, so you start looking at them that way. Which one's washed out? Well, Walmart only went down 1%. Well, what did the SPY go down? Okay, so this is down only 1/4 of what the SPY's down. Maybe that's something to think about if we're going to bounce, right? So you're always looking for pockets of strength. Okay, but that's really what I'm focused on right now. For me, stay away from the Bitcoin longs unless you're just day trading, because it's really scary out there right now, and it can get a lot worse. I've seen it get worse, so it can absolutely get worse. So just kind of keep that in mind. So that's it. If any questions, as always, reach out. Please subscribe to the channel. Comment if you like this format. Comment what stock you're actually looking at tomorrow. I've been getting some good ideas from the live streams. If you're interested in getting actual entries and exits and what we do in the actual trading room, there is a link right above here on the right-hand side. Just click it. And there's also a link in description that can show you a preview of the trading room and also a button to join. That's all I have. Everybody be safe out there tomorrow. Trade to win.